guys, in this video we're going to take a look at the squid's anatomy that is going to help you get ready for your squid dissection. Out of all of your inverts, this is probably going to be the most difficult when we look at some of the internal anatomy, but there is a lot that we can see from external, which is where we're going to start. When we first look at our squid, we need to determine where is the anterior versus the posterior side and dorsal versus ventral. Now we know that anterior means near the head, and if we're looking at the way I have my squid drawn right now, the head is going to be where the eyes and the mouth are going to be. So we're going to go ahead and label this area down here the anterior end. I don't know if you guys can see this in the video. My paper's pretty big. If this is our anterior end down here by the eyes, our posterior end is going to be away from the head. So up here where we have it labeled external, we can just have this as our posterior end. Now we also need to determine, are we looking at the dorsal, the back side, or the ventral, the belly side of our squid? The way that we can tell on a squid is the dorsal side is going to be darker, and that's because it has these little segments of pigment in its skin called chromatophores that are going to be made up of different colors here that will allow the squid to change colors, to blend in with its environment, avoid predators, and it's going to be darker than the ventral side here. So if we're looking the way that I have my squid drawn right now, this is the dorsal view. So I'm just going to write this here. So it's posterior and is in a dorsal view. If we're looking at the body of our squid, we see there's kind of two main sections. This big section of our squid, this is called the mantle. And this is where we're going to find all of the internal organs. You guys may notice that off of the mantle we have this kind of like a suction cup. This is called a siphon. And this is used to bring water into the mantle, and then it is going to use the muscles to push the water back out through the siphon, and that's how it's going to allow it to move. So it's kind of like jet propulsion, bringing water in and out of the siphon. So if water is being expelled this direction, our squid is going to move the other direction. At the top of the mantle, you will notice there are some fins on either side. These fins are obviously going to help with swimming and be able to change its direction. Down here at the anterior end, we will notice that the squid, let's see if I can slide my picture up here, is going to have 8 arms. And it's going to then have 2 tentacles. Now on all of the arms, we're going to see that they will have suckers with teeth in them down the entire arm on the squid. Now I'm not going to draw suckers on all 8 of them, but you get the idea. These suckers are going to allow the squid to catch and eat its prey. Now on the tentacles, it's going to be a little bit different. They're only going to have suckers near the end. And these suckers are going to look the same. They're going to be sharp and have some teeth on them. The squid's going to use these tentacles then to catch their prey, and then they're going to pass them to the arms, which will then allow it to eat its food. One way that we can tell the sex of our squid by looking at external anatomy is on the ventral view, which right now we're looking at the dorsal view. The left tentacle on a male is not going to have any suckers on the end. And the purpose for this is that the male is going to use this tentacle to then pass sperm to the female so that she can fertilize eggs. So this is one clue that will tell us the sex of it. Now some of your guys' squids that you will dissect are old, and some of the suction cups might have fallen off, so it's not always the best way to identify the sex. When we get inside and we start looking for either testes or gonads, we'll be a little bit more definitive on if we're looking at a male or a female. If we look at some of the other external anatomy here, some obvious ones that you guys should be able to get on the quiz are going to be the eyes. Relative to its body, the eyes are going to be rather large. If we take our squid and we hold it like a bouquet of flowers and we kind of let the arms and the tentacles flop over, we can kind of separate them to be able to see the mouth. And what we see, we're going to just pretend that we're looking at it. We're going to draw a beak. It's not exactly going to be like a bird beak, but it is going to be relatively sharp, and this is how our squid is going to be able to tear the flesh off from its prey to be able to eat it. So we're going to label the beak. And this beak is controlled by a muscle that surrounds it. I should probably use a different color here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the color in this video. I'm just going to use the yellow. It's surrounded by a muscle, and this muscle is called a buccal mass. And this muscle is what is going to be used to open and close the beak. This is about all that we have for external anatomy. I am going to add one more thing here up at the top that I forgot to tell you about when I first started this video. We see that our squid is going to be labeled as a cephalopod. Now I know that you guys can break this word down, and we know that cephal is going to mean head, and you guys should know that pod means foot. I'm going to write the right wood here. So basically, when we're looking at a squid, it's going to be made up of a head and feet, and that's what we kind of see with its body here on the external view. Now, when we go to dissect our squid, what we're going to do is we will want to be looking at the dorsal side, and we're going to try to avoid the siphon when we start to cut it. And we're going to start with the mantle. We're just going to use our scissors and we're going to cut up. Now the mantle is going to be relatively thick compared to the earthworm skin, and when we are pinning it down, the pins may not stick into the mantle, so you may actually have to cut and remove the mantle flaps to be able to see these internal organs up here. So let's take a look at our internal view, and here I'm going to have it drawn a little bit different. I kind of have the squid flopped over on its side. We can see the mantle. We're going to have an eye down here along with the mouth, and then we can see the arms and the tentacles. So this is if we like sliced our squid in half and we're looking at it from a side view. First thing that we're going to draw and label with our internal view is we see that there is going to be some internal skeleton that remains in our squid. And I know everything is going to look and feel kind of squishy and look all about the same, but it does have a little bit of support of an endoskeleton, and this endoskeleton is going to be called a pen. And it will kind of look like those old-fashioned ink pens that people used to write with way back when. So we will see this. We will see that inside there is going to be a heart. And this is obviously used to pump some blood. Now this heart actually is going to have two accessory hearts that are going to come off on either side. And these accessory hearts are going to be called gill hearts. Now I bet you guys can already guess what these gill hearts are going to be attached to. Gills, you got it. And these gills are going to be kind of feathery. I'm going to draw them as feathery as I can. And when we see water is being brought in and out through the siphon, water is going to pass over these gills and they're going to be able to exchange oxygen. I'll go ahead and I'll draw a feathery gill over here. These gills should be pretty obvious when you cut into them, and I think in your dissection lab they actually tell you to remove the gills so that way we can see some other structures. Down here near the siphon we will see a darker organ, and this dark organ is going to kind of be released over here. This is going to be the ink sac. Squids are going to use their ink sac for defense. They can release ink out of their siphon into the water to get away from predators. If we take a look at the digestive system, starting down here with the mouth, we see that food that they eat is going to be brought up through an esophagus. And it's going to be delivered then to the stomach, just like in your body, esophagus to your stomach. We see the food's going to start to be broken down, and then it's going to be passed on to further digestive glands, the cecum, which is going to kind of sit behind or underneath the stomach. And these digestive glands are going to further break down the nutrients and be able to start to absorb it. Anything that is not able to be broken down is then going to be passed out of the squid through the siphon, and then down here we see that this opening is going to be the anus. So our siphons kind of has a really important role other than just motion, but it's going to be used to release anything from our squid. We don't have too much more to add to our pictures, but we need to take a look at the reproductive system. Now, depending again on whether or not you have a male or a female, you may see some different reproductive glands. I'm just going to draw in general some gonads kind of behind the cecum. Now, if we have a male, this gonad is going to be a testes, and they are going to be white in color. But if we have a female, these ovaries, they're going to be almost clearish and have kind of like a yellow to orange tint to them. So this is one way that we can then tell the difference between a male and a female. Now, if we have a female and we have ovaries, yellow and orangish in color, we're also going to see another organ, and this is called the nidamental gland. I'm not going to worry about drawing it in here, but just know that they have a second step before they release the eggs. The nidamental gland is going to secrete kind of a gelatinous material that will harden and protect the eggs when they are then released from her body. The last system that we're going to draw for our internal anatomy is we have a simple collection of nerves, kind of like a ganglia that we've seen in the earthworm and the crawdad. We're going to see a very simple brain. All of the other organs we're going to see inside the mantle. We're going to see the brain is going to be down here near the mouth and the eyes. And it is very simple. We kind of see like a main collection of nerves, and then underneath of it we might see 3 smaller collections of these nerves. Now these will then go off to have then a nerve cord that's going to run through the body, but you guys probably aren't going to see this. To get yourselves ready for the quiz after doing the notes on the dissection, my suggestion for you guys as you go through the PowerPoint, draw it. Do a blank diagram, kind of something like this, with a list of things that you need to know, and draw and label it. And if you find yourself getting stuck, that's what you know you need to focus on and study a little bit harder.